wanting to experience more, and knowing that we're not meant to do this alone.
Hello, everyone. I am celebrating today. It is episode number 25 of our interview series, and it has flown by so fast. And we've interviewed so many amazing women who have accomplished massive things in their lives about their heart. And today we're bringing to you AlyseMarie Warren. And I'm so excited to have you and hear about your life and your businesses. So tell us first about how people typically know you.
People typically know me as either a chef or an intuitive coach, and the spiritual confidant healer. Those are kind of my hats, my many hats. I feel like everyone kind of knows me as something different. And so this has been the year of bringing those things together, of becoming just AlyseMarie. She's all of those things.
Tell us about the things that you've accomplished.
I am an executive chef in a restaurant group. We own 4 restaurants. We're working on our 5th. And I have now been published in 4 books. My 5th one is coming out in a month and a half. So that's really exciting. That has been such a huge turning point and in my journey, which is just such a epic thing, which I know that you completely understand. But I'm also a painter. I'm also a healer, and that's something that has become a really, really immense focus and passion for me right now. It's been something that I've done my entire life, but it has really become a really huge calling in the last few years to get back to healing and healing with Mary Magdalene and with Jesus, and bringing them in to focus in a completely new and different way.
Can you guys see why I brought her on? Because already I'm like, yes, let's get into like just the heart of all the wonderful things. And since you brought up all the books that you've been in, I'll just drop a little like super exciting thing, which is that we're both going to be published in The Younger Self Letters #2 later this year. So that's how we met, and I'm so excited for that too. Okay. Let's dive in here. Tell us, so I mean, you just throw out all this about all these restaurants that you own, and you're a part of this group and whatever. Like how much time does that take in your day, and kind of what did it take for you to get to that place that you're at right now?
Restaurant life is a lot of sacrifice. It's a lot of sacrifice for a passion project like a restaurant. I'm at the restaurant generally 11 to 14 hours a day, 5 days a week. Because we're a small operation, even though we have 4 restaurants, we're not like a corporate place, we're a small operation. And so we're really hands-on. Like in every restaurant, there's at least one owner who's on site all the time, to, kind of be in the trenches with everyone. Like there was a long time where, before COVID, where, I was the executive chef. So I was there working every day, but I wasn't really on the line. I wasn't really cooking the food, and COVID has shifted so much. And so now I'm there, like, I'm right next to my line cooks, helping them get through the day too. And so the restaurant life is not for the faint of heart. And it took a lot of sacrifice for me personally to get to where I am, because that's what I was willing to do. You sacrifice time, you sacrifice holidays and big events with your family and things like that, because I was so passionate about it when I was younger, about getting to the place where, I am now. I never even dreamed I would get here, but I was willing to sacrifice to get here. And I'm so happy to have arrived in the place that little me only dreamed of.
Oh my gosh, that is so neat. The idea around sacrifice, though, is I think often kind of overlooked. It's just expected, right? Like you have to
Mhm.
sacrifice a lot, um and I've seen a pattern where it seems to me that women are asked to sacrifice more than men. Um, so tell us a little bit more about the sacrifice part and just what that's been like for you.
I hadn't really looked at it for a long time. And when I wrote in my book, Prosperity Codes, in my chapter, I talked about, the idea that when I first started, it was like, oh, you need someone to work extra? Yeah, I'll do it. And then it just became the normal. I was going to be there extra hours. I was going to do the stuff because I knew where I had a goal. I knew what I wanted to do, and I was willing to sacrifice to get there. But yeah, I think that in our society, it just becomes expected that if that's the job you choose, that you're going to make those sacrifices. And it wasn't something that I fully understood until I lived it. And now I look back on it and I understand the choices that I made to make those sacrifices to get to where I am. And, sometimes you question whether or not it's worth it. But, all in all, I don't think I would change anything.
Mhm. Um, okay, let me fix a little bit here. We've got a little bit of that reverberation, but it sounds like if I mute you while I talk, we're all good. So the what tell us about some of the things that you hold most precious and sacred. That's where I think I want to explore next.
I think for me, quality time is always the thing that I hold most sacred, whether it's with my husband or with my friends or with my family. Like, I love quality conversation. I love like getting into the nitty gritty and like really, diving in with people, which is why I'm at my parents' today, because my mom was like, hey, I need some quality time. And I was like, yes, I will be there. It's my day off. I will be here. Let's have some quality time together. That's one of the things that I think even as a kid I cherished. I loved getting up early because my brothers and sisters weren't awake. I could have time with just me and my parents. I love that quality. Quality time is probably number one for me.
So, I'm thinking about your life and how you just explained how much time you've had to spend building your restaurants. How how have you even let's just look at your marriage. How have you even managed to maintain a quality marriage when your heart needs quality time, but you were the one who weren't able to have a ton of quality time? How has that been for you?
We got together. I was already in this lifestyle. And my husband also works a crazy lifestyle. He works in film and TV. So he also works long hours. And so we just make the most of the time that we have. When we're together, it's our time and it's sacred. And over the last couple of years, we've like dedicated, like, normally Mondays is our day. We go and we have a day just us and we hang out and we do whatever we want to do that day. Usually it's board games, but today he decided to take a job because he felt like he needed to do it. And we just honor that for each other. We don't think about like, oh, we wish we had more of this, or, we just dive in and really enjoy the moments that we do have together without thinking of the moments that we lack.
I love that. I love that you said board games because that's been a big part of my marriage too. And it's funny because you would think, oh, that's not, but it's actually so connecting. And it's just time where everything sort of slows down and all that matters is like this fun thing that you're doing together. I love that. You said quality time in your relationships has meant a lot to you, even since you were a little girl. Did you ever picture that your life would be so busy and so full?
I don't think I did. I don't think I had any idea. Even though as a little kid, I already knew that this is what I wanted to do, that I wanted to be a chef. I don't think there's any way to prepare a person for what chef life is. And obviously every restaurant is different. Every place you go into is different, and they're going to expect more of you or less of you or whatever. And so I don't think that I ever thought about what my life would look like, to be honest with you, what adult life actually looked like. You know, my parents owned a business, so they had their own time schedule too, but like we had family meals together. Like my mom and dad made that a priority. And I think that's where quality time stemmed from for me. You know, not all of them were super happy times, but we always found the joy in having that time together. We got mad at each other. We probably threw water across the table. It was a big thing in my family. But like just having that time to come together, which is why I love, you know, one of the things I love about cooking. I love that, like people coming together and having quality meal and like enjoying each other and having conversation, even if it's simple of like just checking in on what your day to day is. There's still something so intimate about having that time together that will always be the thing that I'll choose. You know, if I can choose one thing or the other, like I love just sitting down, having a meal and a conversation, like, and a board game. I love a good board game. But that is just this really beautiful quality time where you get to like really hone in on what's happening right now. Like all the other stuff just fades away. You don't have to worry about the outside world. You can just focus on the game and enjoy this connection of moment. And being someone who being in the present moment is really important, and having intimate space with people is really important to me. Is really important just to essential being who I am, having that intimate time with people as much as, you know, face to face online. Even if I can look in your eyes and have that intimate connection with you, that's everything for me.
I think so many, I hear often from business women, like, I don't have the time for those kind of deep, intimate conversations, or I don't have the time. Oftentimes that's an excuse that I'll hear. And I say excuse kind of lightly. I don't mean to judge people, but I always know that it's like a surface thing when they say, I don't have time to have a quality marriage, or, you know, things like this. So, and I've seen you now this year making this real big emphasis in time and space for your own healing, as well as being, you know, establishing yourself as an intuitive healer that can help other people. And I'm curious, which is such, like, clearly that's such a soul calling for you. I'm curious if there have been times where you have felt judged by maybe more the corporate side of your life, for making so much time and space for things like intimate conversation and intimacy with yourself, that healing space, and all of this stuff that you've been emphasizing.
You know, I think I've done a really good job of compartmentalizing them for that sole reason, because I didn't want the judgment. And so I kept it very quiet for a long time. You know, I only told a few people what was going on or what I was doing, or if they, you know, happened to follow me online. Even on Facebook for a long time, I didn't post anything because that was where people saw me who might judge me. And so I didn't share myself there. I just kind of stayed within my little Instagram community that I had cultivated. I got to allow in who I wanted in, because judgment is a big thing for me. It's a big shame space for me. And so I needed that when I was in the beginning parts of my healing. I needed that safety of knowing that I had control over who had a say on what was happening in my life. And so I really compartmentalized. You know, obviously at work or in my corporate space, they saw the effects of what was happening, but they had no idea why it was happening. And I definitely manufactured that for myself because I needed the spiritual side. I needed it for me. I needed it to be who I was and to get closer to that authentic space, because I was really suffering with being authentic in a space that I didn't feel like I could be. And so I was working on the spiritual side to get myself to that space, because I knew how important being authentic was for me. And so until I was fully ready, I don't think anyone actually knew what was happening until I was ready to say, I don't care what you have to say about it. Like, this is me, and I'm going to show up as me, exactly as I am, and you're going to take it or you're going to leave it. And the universe is going to figure the rest of it out.
I was muted. That's what I get for like, I'm like muting, unmuting. Well, this imperfect interview is going to be perfect, I'm sure, for what it needs to be. But I was saying that I've seen a lot of business women who really struggle with like I'll hear them sort of feel like they have to explain why they're about to say something really woo woo, or or feeling like I have to hold these parts of myself back in these certain spaces, even though these parts of me are like such a huge part of me now. And I think as a society, we are all shifting and kind of waking up to our spiritual gifts and all of this. I know you and I are in alignment with that. We've talked about some of those things. So it makes you a pioneer right now for saying, actually, I'm going to merge all the parts. It doesn't mean I have to ditch all these things that I love over here in the corporate side, in being a chef and a business owner, restaurant owner. And it also doesn't mean I have to hide these other parts of who I am, which is like a master healer and intuitive and visionary and all these things. So I just think that's so cool. What I as we begin to wrap up, I have two more questions that I want to ask you. One is what feels most vulnerable to you today? What are the things that still feel kind of shaky even right now in your journey?
I think for me, the most vulnerable thing is always sharing my accomplishments. I've been doing a lot of thought around this idea of how easy it is for us to dismiss ourselves, how easy it is for us to downplay who we are and what we do and how we show up for the sake of other people. It's like, one, we're afraid of judgment. Two, we're afraid of like, what if we make them feel bad? Like, what if people aren't happy for us because they're not happy for themselves? And so I think that's always super vulnerable for me. It wasn't that I was bad at school when I was younger. It was that I was afraid to be too good, or I had all these hats. I can do lots of stuff. I'm a painter and I was a makeup artist for a while. I have all of these things that I could do. And people would always mention that, like, wow, you're so good at everything. And for a long time, I downplayed a lot of stuff because I felt bad. I felt like I was making them feel bad for being good at things. And so I would just kind of try to like be good enough, but not quite good enough. This like fine line of like, yeah, I'm going to show up as myself and I love to wear dresses and I love to just be me, but I want to not be quite over the top because I don't want you to really look at me, but I do want you to see me, but not really see me. And so that's the part that's generally the hardest for me, is like, where is the line of how I should show up? And that's the thing that, right now in my healing process that I'm really working through. You said you're a pioneer, and it's like, oh, I just signed up for this book called Heart-Centered Leadership. And I remember her saying, leaders have to go first. That's what a leader is. And I was like, oh, that's not what I was taught a leader was. And I was like, wow, I am a leader. I am a pioneer. I am someone who's reshaping how we do things. And it took a lot for me to get to the space where I could actually say that out loud. And that's super vulnerable for me. It's vulnerable for me to say, yeah, let's shine, because we're so used to trying to dim people's light in hopes that dimming their light will make our light brighter, but it doesn't work that way. If your light is brighter, mine shines brighter too. Like, we can just use that fuel. And that's a really vulnerable, hard space for me.
That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, I love that. I love that you declared, I am a leader. Okay, the last question that I want to ask you, and this is again just to get to know your heart. Tell us about a time in your life that felt like one of the most fulfilling experiences of your life.
You know, I am blessed to say that I have many of those, but I think that marrying my husband has been one of the most life-changing moments of my life. Not just the wedding itself, but the whole experience. My husband was not a backseat driver. He wanted to like be in there with me, and we made decisions for a day that really showcased who we were as a couple. And I'm a crier. And it really like showed me what it's like to be in it with someone. It was such a cementing moment for us. We'd been together for 6 years before we got married. He wasn't sure he ever wanted to be married. And that was a hard thing for me. So when he decided that he actually wanted to do this life with me, I knew it was serious. And it was such a cementing moment for like, this is a journey. You know, some people get to the wedding and it's like a destination. For us, that was like just the beginning of this life that we were going to build together. And it's such a beautiful thing to do life with him. It's been life-changing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Those are sacred tears, right? When we cry because we're so full that it's just like a cup that's full and running over. I'm like, those are so sacred tears. Thank you so much for sharing your heart. Thanks, guys, for watching, for your patience with our little bit of technical sound stuff. And is there any last things that you would like to share before we finish today?
You know, for me, the message that Spirit has been very clear that every time I get this question must be the answer, is that you in this very moment is perfect. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It doesn't matter what's going to happen tomorrow. You in this very moment are exactly who and where you're supposed to be.
Thank you so much. And guys, thanks for watching. I love these interviews so much, especially when people really bring their heart forward. It's such a gift to the world. So thank you for coming and being with us today. And guys, don't miss an episode. Go make sure that you're on my email list and that you'll get notified every time that we have another one of these interviews of the Chronicles of the High-Powered Female CEO. Thanks, guys.